Hello again, everyone. We are Gaming by Gaslight. Welcome back to Dead Cells The Foundry update. Oop. Dead? He's not dead. They're never dead when I want them to be dead. But, anyway, when we last left off, we were in a pretty good position. Not the best position, but not the worst either, so that's always good. Boom. I love the explosive crossbow. It's a really awesome weapon. And if I wasn't feeling like this could be a brutality run, I would say that we should make this yet another tactics run and then make the explosive crossbow our main weapon of choice. And now that we got that, that's pretty much made my decision that much easier. Because then we can do this, 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 and this. Whoop. Whoop. Alright, but, you know, we, there is more to life than, whoop, than simply, simply killing enemies. We also have the very, very important and critical job of collecting stat upgrades, for one. And the other important and critical job of actually surviving. That's generally an important thing. This has been pretty good so far. I just need that other stat upgrade, which is somewhere. You know, there's a part of me that's almost thinking I should forego worrying about the time door and just harvest a bunch of enemies here. But then again, it's also been my belief, as I've said before, that you generally get more cells in the later levels anyway. I could be wrong about that, but I feel there is some kind of correlation between, like, the difficulty of a particular level and the number of cells you're likely to acquire in it. Particularly because runs where I go into, like, if I go to the ossuary or just, like, the levels that generally most of us would probably agree are harder. Then, also, did that door open on its own without me actually... Oh, no, right, never mind. I was mistaking the collector's door with, Eom's door. Because you're not allowed to proceed if you don't have your mutation selected. Which is kind of interesting, because I wouldn't mind playing the game in a fashion where I just did not have any mutations whatsoever. You know, try to go like real, ultra, super plain vanilla. You know what? It'd be faster to just do that. And then, like that. Alright, this is good. It's gonna be a good run. I can feel it. Yes, because I can do cool stuff like that. Also, it looks like our enemies' corpses explode after we're done with them. Which is nice. Whoop. Boom. Yeah, you see, this is the good stuff right here. Whoop. I was actually like 95% expecting there to be a big old pool of poison down there that I was going to fall into, but I did not. And that makes me a happy man. Oh, that is good. That is good, isn't it? This is a good run. And I'm reasonably confident that we're gonna... win. Of course, then again, you generally want to go into every run assuming that you're gonna win. Even if it doesn't end up happening, at least you were, you know, you had a bit of faith in yourself, which is generally an important thing in life. Oh, look at that. I had a feeling you were going to be down here, Mr. Cursed Chest. It also occurs to me that since every single stat thingy we have right now has gone into tactics, we could also easily turn this into a cursed sword run if we so desired sometime, you know, sometime down the road here. Whoop. See, that wasn't so bad. I probably could have done better. But I also definitely could have done worse. Important distinctions right there. Better, worse, it's all relative. Oh dear. See, even that was pretty okay. Hey, dude. Boom. You know, I wonder, is there enemy penetration on the explosive crossbow? I feel the answer to that is yes. Like, I mean, just about every ranged weapon can get piercing arrows, so I don't see why this one would be an exception. I'm also thinking that even though I normally like to go to the ramparts after the toxic sewers, that perhaps today we'll make an exception and instead endeavor go to the old sewers, just for a bit of variety, because we can. Which would suit me just fine. Dang. Didn't quite deliver there, did I? Oh well, that happens. I mean, this is a strong but slow weapon, so there is a chance, however small, however unlikely, however possible, that we'll end up not quite being able... Whoop. Not quite being able to hit the time door anyway, in which case it would be in our interest, no doubt, I should think. Whoop, whoop. I do love that, often as not, I'm able to kill enemies just with the exploding corpses of my other enemies. Works out pretty nicely, pretty straightforwardly. Whoa. Wait, how did you not hit me? Kinda shocked by how that one went down, but I'll take it. Because it worked in my favor, and generally if something works in your favor, you shouldn't question it too loudly. Because you never know. It might not work in your favor next time. And that's not good. Yeah, you see, right there. I should have... You see, that was my mistake. I recognized my mistake. A little bit too late. Oh, look at that. An ice bow. So we actually get killimajigging at an even greater range. And by killimajigging, I mean freezing. There we go. See, I corrected my mistake this time. And shots penetrate the first target. That works for me, seeing as that now gives us even greater range. Because we don't have to get nearly as close. Beautiful. There's a thing of beauty, is it not? Just being able to... Whoa. Haha, whoa. Don't do that, Scorpion. Hey, that did not penetrate the enemy. Oh dear. Okay, that was very... Nope. Very, not cool, man. Yet we're still going, so that's a good thing. Whoa. Ha ha ha! Yes, cake. I love cake. Cake will save us, probably. Possibly, maybe. Alright, we're actually starting to run out of time here, just a little bit. Like, if we do want to go to the ramparts, that is. Let's take a quick look at yonder map. I mean, we could go this way, or we could keep going the way we're presently going. And that's not bad. I keep sliding off the edge. Whoop. Not cool, dog. Alright. Again, I am still tempted to go to the old sewers, just for a change of pace. It does mean that we won't be able to go, say, fight the incomplete one. But then again, we don't want to fight the incomplete one every time, do we? Maybe we do. The answer to that is no, we totally don't. We could, But we don't, because that would be boring to do the same thing every time. And it just occurred to me, we haven't actually picked up any skill items until now. I don't know. It's a hard choice to make, because on the one hand, I do like getting more skills and tactics and whatnot, especially from time doors, but we don't need to. And you know what? We're actually pretty much out of time for the time door, so we're gonna go to the old sewers instead. We'll just kind of meander our way through life. But I do, since we are meandering anyway, we're gonna go over here just to make sure we're not missing any sweet treasure and or loot and or awesomeness. And I mean, as it stands, like, we probably want to maximize our gains anyway. I could have just rolled through that, but I always play it a little bit cautiously. Huh. The timing of these are interesting, since they're kind of like, they're off, but then they sync up, and then they're off again. I mean, I suppose it's not that interesting, but I find it interesting. Alright, so there was just money there. We didn't really gain anything or lose anything by going down this path, but every single enemy is dead now, so that's good, probably. Worked out in our favor in the long run. And possibly in the short run as well. There we go. Oh, dear lord, this level just keeps going, doesn't it? That worked out. But at least we're wealthy. That's cool. Boom. This is good. And in fact, I am decided now that I am very definitely going to make this an explosive crossbow run so we can check that off our list of things to check. Because I do like checking things off of lists. Boom. Oh yeah, this is good. This is a powerful run. I am very thoroughly enjoying it. Very thoroughly. Which is good. I mean, that's probably the most important thing in life, isn't it? Be enjoying oneself. Well, maybe not the most important thing, but it is an important thing. Be happy, enjoy your... No, that's not what I wanted to do. I have to spend my money. My precious, precious money on resetting that. Tisk, tisk. Anyway, I also want to, again, while we're not dead here, I want to reiterate how pleasing it is and just how much I enjoy the fact that with hard mode, Dead Cells really emphasizes its roguiness and really reminds you, what it is you're getting yourself into when you play this game. Since compared to, our regular vanilla cells, when we're in hard cells, as I'm calling it, I'm just going to call it hard cells now. Maybe it'll catch on if I say it often enough. Or maybe not. You never know. But anyway, yeah. Like, compared to most other runs, in most other runs, I generally feel... Oh crap. I forgot we have these things now. I do hate those things. But then again, they bleed and they die just like anybody else. Also, I love the fact that I'm able to one-shot any enemy. But getting to like what I was really saying a moment ago, like what I like about hard cells, oh dear, is the fact that death can come at any point. Like, not that I am fond of death and or dying, but I am fond of, I guess, that sense of danger and challenge, because then when you actually overcome that challenge, it ends up feeling like that much more rewarding. Also, I feel like an idiot for having at any point used that healing item, my healing fountain, potion thingy, when I totally could have just waited a few seconds and then we would have just had that cursed chest. That is silliness. Silliness on my part. Whoop. Whoop. Come on. Hold on there, friendos. That worked out. Whoop. Oh no. I really want to emphasize how much I hate those crawly things. Like, I have probably, to be honest, an entirely irrational hatred of them, but whoop. It is a hate nonetheless, and I cannot quite convince myself to let it go. Though, letting things go is generally a good thing. It's the first step towards accepting stuff. Though what is it exactly I'm trying to accept in this case? That's a good question. Boom. I am trying to accept my inevitable fade it out mortality. Oh dear. Well, that was a good one, Gaslight. All right. You know, this run has been like really good to me so far, so I'm a little. Oh, look at that. I'm a little bit hesitant to like not heal. You know, I haven't used this turret at all, which I feel kind of bad about. But I'm probably going to continue not using it, if I'm being entirely honest with you. Why do you do these things to me, game? What have I done to upset you? You know what? Actually, I am going to heal myself. And words do not describe my sense of loathing and hatred for myself for that one. But whoop, life goes on, and you know, we can't change what happened. We can only change what we do from here. So let's make sure that mistake does not happen again. At least not on this particular run. It's probably going to happen again. I do have a somewhat annoying tendency to repeat my mistakes. Wow, that worked out pretty nice, didn't it? Pretty nice indeed, and that makes me a happy man. Oh, look at that, another cursed chest. So even less healing was necessary than I thought at first. Also, it just occurred to me, when this was closed, it was chained down, it didn't have arms. I always thought cursed chests had arms on them. Like, I thought that's what their graphical model was showing. But apparently, I have been wrong all this time. And I don't know how I feel about that. Why did I do that when I could have done this? Much better. Whoop. And then we just kind of crawl up here, wait for those to go away. Whoop. And boop. And boop. And one final boop. And we're done. We also have a cake over there. Nicely done over there. Nothing is too exciting over here. Possibly. Except, yeah, there is some exciting stuff. Good, 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 good. Lovely stuff right there. We have a shield, but this is not going to be a shield run. Though, I guess I lament that a little bit. Not enough to actually, like, change what I'm doing, but enough that, oh, I've actually never fully upgraded the explosive crossbow, so I guess that's what we're gonna want to do when we beat the boss here. Wasn't sure I was going to be able to pull that off, in the sense that I thought for a second the scorpion was going to get enough time to attack me, thus resulting in my horrible, horrible demise. I mean, it probably wouldn't have instantly killed me, but I'll be honest, since the regular attacks on scorpions started being able to poison people, I have become considerably considerably more afraid of scorpions than I previously had been. Alright, there's the boom. There's the other boom. And one last boom over there. Of course... Oh dear. Listen, you. Ooh. Alright, am I gonna be able to, like, easily squeeze in there? I don't know. Oh, the lightning whip. That's actually also a... I mean, it's not even called the lightning whip, is it? It's called the electric whip. But I like to call it the... I like to call it what I call it. I think my name's better. But of course I would say that. Being naturally biased to my own ideas. Oh, I love that. I mean, I love a lot of things in life. I try to be easy to please. Well, sort of. I try not to be overly difficult, but I can be fairly particular about some things, I'll admit. Sometimes annoyingly so. But, it is what it is. It really is. I mean, it has to be what it is, because if it wasn't, then it wouldn't be. And if it wouldn't be, then it would. Confused yet? I am. I don't know where I was going with any of that. Except that I am apparently just speaking crazy talk now, as one does from time to time. And as I recall, I don't want to... Yeah, I didn't really want to do that. But I do like the fact that while I'm taking damage, I'm releasing like a massive cloud of highly toxic toxins. That message brought to you by the Department of Redundancy Department. Gotta keep them in business, man. Times have been hard. But... Boom. Oh, that's just... Oh, you are despicable, sir. Attacking me from somewhere where I can't attack you back. But then again, that's kind of what I would do if I could get away with it. So, I can't blame him too much. I mean, he's just trying to survive, man. Boom. Bam. Ah! I did it again. I refuse to heal, though. I completely and utterly refuse, though it occurs to me I'm going to be fighting the Watcher in a second here, so I should take my moral outrage and, you know, go shove it somewhere. Because it's not going to be helping me here. Not against the Watcher. Oop, oh. Didn't quite pull that off as smoothly as I might have liked, but we are actually only 282 cells, that's it. Not 400, not 300, just 200. That's admittingly... Oh, there's like a whole other side area off to the side here. And while it is almost 20 minutes, which I'm pretty sure means that it is almost, we've almost missed our shot at any... Well, we're gonna go to the Slumbering Sanctuary afterwards. I know this already, because... Well, actually, we could go to the graveyard. Oh, crap. I have made possibly a dangerous choice in my life here. Though it did heal us all the way to full health, so that's a good thing. But, at the same time, if there are not... Oh no, look at that. I am not really sure what I was worried about. Then again, no time to get... Oh, look at that. Perfect. Perfectly perfect, practically perfect in every way. Much like our dear beloved Mary Poppins. Speaking of, there is a part of me, though I can't remember where I would have heard this, that there's a part of me that is under the impression that Disney is making a remake of the classic Disney film, Mary Poppins. They're doing a lot of that lately, which I guess makes sense, seeing as, like, a lot of these classic Disney movies came out, like, you know, 10,000 years ago, at the dawn of mankind. And there is no doubt a whole new generation looking to hear some of these classic stories. But even so, it always kind of weirds me out a little bit whenever Hollywood decides to remake something that, like, something that I, myself, like, personally knew and enjoyed and loved as a child. Even though I know that, like, some of the movies I myself enjoyed as a child were remakes of even older movies. It's kind of weird how that happens, isn't it? Oh, you are also despicable, sir. Whoop. You know what? I'm not getting my due here. Anyway. I mean, I don't know what to think of remakes. Sometimes remakes are good, especially if they, like, actually, like, if whoever's doing the remake actually has, like, their own vision. Especially if it's a remake of something that is actually, like, you know, like an even older story still. Like any of our old-timey Brothers Grimm or whatnot kind of fairy tales and the like. Since it's kind of funny, actually, how those sorts of stories kind of go in cycles. They get dark, then they get light, then they get dark again, then light again, and so on and so forth. I mean, frankly, as I think I've probably, excuse me, sir, probably been on about before, I hate how I was kind of like sliding off the edge there. That was very frustrating, but understandable, I guess. Anyway, but yeah, like, some of the older versions of some, like, very, very beloved and classic stories, they are kind of messed up, actually. Like, you ever read the original Pinocchio? Now that's a messed up story there, man. I mean, there's, like, suicide, there's hangings, there's gratuitous violence, possibly a bit of sex. Which, you know, for a children's story is a little bit, depending on your point of view, suspect. Wow, that was fast. And, yeah. And whatever children's stories are there out there. Like, you're never gonna see, like, a Disney film of, like, Bluebeard. That's not a story you'd tell your children. And yet, it was a story you told your children back in the day. And for those of you not familiar with the lovely fairy tale of Bluebeard, well, because of his name, I keep wanting to think he's like some kind of pirate. He's not some kind of pirate. He was some kind of wealthy noble. I'm just going to arbitrarily say he was Hungarian, because I can. I don't think that's actually even where the fairy tale originates, but it sounds. I'm not gonna say it sounds right, but just sounds like a thing. I don't know, just old-timey Hungary sounds like a rough and brutal area, considering where it was geographically located. Anyway, but yeah, Bluebeard was like some wealthy noble dude who, he would have like a new wife like every other week, and, you know, that's all fine and dandy. I think we can all agree that having a new wife every other week is probably pretty cool. I mean, it's totally not suspicious or suspect at all, and definitely not a sign that someone may, in fact, own a murder closet. Anyway, but yeah, so old Bluebeard, he got... Our story begins with him, getting married yet again to some lovely young woman who totally deserved to not get put into a murder closet and get such a fine catch as old Bluebeard. And... you know, on their wedding day, Bluebeard's kind of like, it's, you know, he's just all, hey, you know, you're my wife now. I hope we have a long and productive life together where no one gets shoved in a murder closet. And, you know, my castle is your castle now. Go wherever you want. Just, you know, don't go into my basement. That's totally where, like, you know, people are not being stuffed into murder closets. And I'm just, you know, I just like have, I don't know, like some kind of hobby down there maybe. Maybe I play with my model train sets down there or something. And I can't really go down there. Unfortunate. Anyway. So, Bluebeard, being a very important business noble person, he naturally, after, you know, getting married and giving his wife this important information about not going into his totally not murder closet basement, he, you know, he goes off doing some business somewhere. And, you know, unfortunately for Bluebeard, he apparently, like, you know, he just never took the time to build in any entertainment or luxuries. And his wife very quickly got bored of his, like, boring, totally not murder closet house. And so she wandered down into his basement, whereupon she discovered, hanging on little hooks, delicate, totally not murder hooks, the bodies of all of Bluebeard's previous wives. And because apparently Bluebeard is like some kind of like super villain, not only like he immediately shows up, like he must have not been on business at all. He just immediately, like, he just pretended to leave and then was waiting because he's like, all women are like evil or something. I don't know what he was thinking, but it's like, she's totally gonna betray me and go into my totally not murder closet basement, even though I asked her very politely not to. So, you know, as soon as he finds out that she has in fact got into his totally not murder closet basement, he's like, well, I'm gonna have to kill you now, but, you know, fortunately she gets away, and she goes to her brothers, and her brothers are like, hey, dude, that's our sister. You can't just kill her and stuff her in your totally not murder closet. And Bluebeard's like, oh yeah? What are you gonna do about it? And then the brothers are like, dude, have you seen how jacked we are? There's like 5 of us. You're not gonna, like, we're totally more than a match for you. And, you know, naturally they were, so Bluebeard ended up dead, and the wife ended up owning a sweet, totally not murder closet castle. I mean, I have to assume that she inherited it, being, you know, his legal wife and whatnot. And no one questioned the fact that Bluebeard probably ended up in his totally not murder closet, and, you know, everyone lived happily ever after. I'm kind of wondering what the actual moral of that story is supposed to be. Like, is it, like, seeing as Bluebeard dies, it's obviously not like some kind of like old school lessons like, hey, wife, don't go meddling in your husband's business. Maybe it's, I mean, it might even be a progressive message about women, well, progressive for the time, message for women to be careful who they give their heart to. I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes, seeing as, like, the actual morals and values of society with many of these stories kind of moved on since these fairy tales were written. Like, if I remember correctly, like, Beauty and the Beast was, like, its moral was, like, some kind of lesson about, like, how to be a good wife. Like, specifically, not just, like, a good wife, but specifically about the fact that back in the olden days, of course, as we all know, it was not uncommon to have an arranged marriage, and that's sort of what the Beast represented, I guess, is like, you know, I guess, like, kind of the uncertainty and, like, fear and nervousness of, like, marrying, like, some dude you've never met. And, you know, and then, but as, like, a positive, upbeat, and, like, very forward-thinking for its time message, saying that, hey, you know, if you make the best of your situation, it may turn out that, you know, your scary husband, who you've been promised to, like, probably before you were even born, might actually turn out to be a pretty swell guy. Because compared to, you know, the Disney version of Beauty and the Beast, where, like, the Beast has, like, a ridiculous anger management problem, the Beast in the old fairy tale was actually, like, a really polite and level-headed gentleman. Oh, also there is some stuff there. But then there's, I can't think of, like, every fairy tale I've ever read. Like, as a child, I loved reading fairy tales and just reading in general. I still love reading in general. But yeah, there's, like, so many stories, and, like, I'm trying to think now, like what the meaning, the moral behind some of them might have been. Because some of them you gotta wonder, just a little bit, like what the heck they were supposed to, what kind of lessons they were trying to teach. And in some cases, I guess it would be difficult, if not impossible, to ever really, well, not impossible, but difficult to understand, like, what kind of morals we're supposed to be learning from these stories, since, again, you know, like, the actual values of a society, or of the society that wrote some of these stories, have changed. I do swear, though, that, like, some fairy tales must have been written just for the sake of, like, mentally scarring children forever. Because why else would you tell a story of some nefarious creature that lives on the moon that'll pluck out your eyes and feed them to his children in his, like, steel castle? Or steel nest or whatever. If, you know, other than to mentally scar your children for life. That is the story of the Sandman, by the way, in case you're not familiar. Really makes you wonder, though, doesn't it? Some of these stories. Like, some of them are pretty dark and brutal, I've got to tell you. Like, oh, another classic story, The Little Mermaid. I've read, like, in addition to the Disney version, I have read 2 other versions of the story, both of which have varying levels of tragedy and disappointment in them. In the first version I read, the Little Mermaid dies at the end. Like, she just straight up dies of, like, a broken heart or something. And she ends up, she's just, like, you know, gone, like, dead. She turns into sea foam, and that's it. That's the end of the Little Mermaid. Just dead, deader than dead. And that's all she wrote. In the other version, like, what, as far as I can tell, is like the original Hans Christian Andersen version, we get the delightful message that, oh, God is, you know, all loving and all great and stuff, but apparently if you're not human, you weren't worthy of having a soul, so, you know, Little Mermaid not being human, when she dies, she's just gone. Like, you don't get to go to heaven if you're a mermaid, you just straight up disappear. That's it. Which, I'll be honest, when I read that, I was like, well, that's not very nice. That's not very good at all. But, I mean, in that version of the story that, like, mentions that, honestly, it's kind of a version that makes God look like kind of a dick. But, you know, because making a sentient, thinking, feeling creature, but saying, hey, you don't get a soul, you don't get to go to heaven when you die. You just disappear. But anyway, that version of the story does have a bit of a happy ending, because in that version of the story, actually in all the versions of the story that are not the Disney version, the Little Mermaid never ends up with the prince. Just a pro spoiler right there. But in the Hans Christian Andersen version of the story, in fact in most versions of the story, I think it's like, it's kind of a case of like the prince was already in love with someone else, so he like meets her or whatever. He meets his true love, who is not the Little Mermaid, unfortunately. Unfortunately for her. But she loves the prince so much that she cares about his happiness more than her own. And so she ultimately, you know, wishes them well. And eventually, I think she, like, dies trying to save the prince. I don't know what ended up happening to the prince that he needed saving. But, you know, he was, yeah. Anyway, so the Little Mermaid dies, but fortunately, it turns out that because she was so selfish and so good in life, that the air spirits, who are, like, totally something that would not be considered heathenous, treasonous, blasphemous paganism, the air spirits are like, hey, Little Mermaid, you can become one of us now. And then if you do, like, 1,000 good deeds or something, 1,000 good deeds? I think it's 1,000. Might have just been 100, but in any case, you do a bunch of good deeds, and then you get a soul, and then you get to go to heaven. Which, again, still makes God, the Christian God, kind of look like a dick, since, again, he's like, oh, you know, you're all worthy of salvation, but if you're not human, then, you know, better luck next time, I guess. That's why you totally should have been born human instead of been born a filthy non-human. Or could you, like, wow. I one-shot him. Nice. So there's that. I mean, make of that what you will. I'm probably overselling it a little bit. But, you know, it's there. Make of it what you will. And whatever good stories I think of. I'm having a hard time thinking of more right off the top of my head, but you know, there's so many fairy tales to choose from that have like really questionable, really questionable content in them. That, but of course, then again, I guess compared to ye modern era, where you know, like children have to be wrapped in styrofoam and like placed in an airtight bubble because God forbid they scrape their knees or like breathe actual air or whatever, or you know, even like go on a bus ride just downtown without being like perfectly protected every single time. Anyway, what I'm getting at out of all this mad, crazy rambling of mine is that, you know, people were made of sterner stuff back in the old days, where nowadays it's all, ooh, my feelings. That's actually kind of insensitive. I'm sorry about that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, and by oh, my feelings, I mean like, you know, like taking it a little bit too far. Of course, then again, let's be honest with ourselves. Most of the crazier people who would take stuff like that too far are on the internet. Though, I say that knowing full well that I have, in recent years, read some really, really ridiculous laws, even here in Canada, that kinda, like, they're a bit too much in terms of, like, I understand trying to protect children, don't get me wrong, but, like, as I'm pretty sure I've been on this rant before, but when I was a kid, growing up, my parents, like, I think when I was, like, 10 or so, they started trusting me to be able to, like, stay home by myself. Maybe 12. It might have been 12, actually, but, you know. Like, the actual age doesn't matter. The fact is that, you know, I was a minor and they trusted me home alone. And, you know, it's not like I was ever kidnapped or anything. I was never in any... ever in any real danger of any kind of trouble. I mean, then again, it's not like I lived in particularly bad neighborhoods, but I did live in a... we lived on a military base where there was a pedophile, apparently. So, that was cool. That was... never met the guy. But, yeah. And when I say there was a pedophile, I mean, like... there was some guy who I don't know for sure if he was like ever actually committed or convicted of anything, rather, but I believe he was someone who parents did not want their children being around. Which just kind of, I mean, like, it must have been someone where they couldn't like legally prove anything, but everyone like knew and they're like, yeah, we don't want our children around that guy. He's kind of weird. And whatnot. And by weird, I mean, you know, not right in the head. And has some less than noble inclinations. But anyway, that's kind of getting off the beaten path. What I'm saying is that, you know, there's danger everywhere, and parents cannot protect their children from the world. And indeed, parents should not protect their children from the world. I mean, you should try to protect your children, naturally. Also, I say all this as, like, someone who has never had children, so keep in mind my opinions may change should I ever have that illustrious privilege. But, for now, like, I tend to agree with, like, the arguments that, like, if children are, like, made too safe, then they'll end up being unable to help themselves when they get older, and then they'll end up just living in their parents' basement for their entire lives. Which, you know, no one wants that. Though, granted, in today's economy, living with your parents is not exactly, like, the worst idea. In fact, it's probably pretty smart to stay at home until you've actually, you know, got yourself financially established. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's always up to you, the individual, to figure out what it is that you are going to do with your life and stuff. So what I don't really know if there is a grand overarching moral to today's episode, just some random, I guess actually, now that I think about it, this is kind of like getting into like almost like, I'd almost say I'm getting into political talk, and stuff like this is exactly the kind of thing that you'd expect to hear politicians talking about. Also, this is the end, isn't it? This is the end, in fact. Do I want to leave now, or do I want to finish exploring this level? The answer, of course, is I do want to finish exploring the level, because I would feel, I don't know, I'd feel a little empty if we didn't explore everything. Because you never know what might be here. I might even want to turn this into a cursed sword run at the last minute. But I don't think I'm actually going to do that. I kind of want to keep this as it is. Ooh, free cake. I love free cake. That's... Free cake is... Actually, you know what? I shouldn't be killing every enemy because... Ow, good job. Genius move there, Gaslight. Because there's probably a cursed chest somewhere around here. It's right here. Yes, there it is. Alright, and I want to make sure that we can get rid of our curse before it's too late. And too late in this case specifically meaning before we fight the assassin, because this is kind of a slow weapon that I've got here, and I am feeling a little bit sloppy, so I have little doubt that I will end up hurting myself if I am not careful. And I would rather not hurt myself in this case, so let's do our best to make sure such hurting does not happen. Because again, that would be like double plus ungood. And no one wants double plus ungood. Sometimes single plus ungood, but definitely not double plus. Double plus would be very bad indeed. And that's all she wrote, I guess. Actually, you know what? I was talking about maybe doing a curse sword. I do feel sometimes like every time I don't do a curse sword run, I am letting you guys down a little bit. But a curse sword run will come in time. We just have to, like, we will know when the time is right, I guess is what I'm saying. And that time will be later than we think, but sooner than you would guess. Or something like that, I don't know. I don't really know. What I do know is that I am ridiculously, fabulously wealthy right now, and I could totally, probably buy... Actually, now that I think about it, let's see if we can get some better... Let's see. Yeah, let's see if we can get some better weapons. Like, not that our weapon... Oh, right. I chose random. That's gonna make it even harder, isn't it? Let's see. Yep, good enough for me. And we'll recycle this one... Well, we'll recycle it until we can't recycle it anymore, just to see if we can get an upgraded ice grenade, which we can't. And there was an ever weapon shop around here, but let's go back to where we were. And get the adventure going again. I bet I could have shaved like 10 minutes off this run if I had made a couple of different choices. Alright, so first of all, we want the cooldown, we want the if there are no enemies nearby, because that extra damage is incredible. Very incredible. Probably the best we've ever seen, and in fact, if I had purposely taken a little bit of damage and then healed myself as we entered the fight, we would have got even more damage to really start things off with a real bang. Alright. Boom, shaka, laka, shaka boom. Haha. Okay, freeze her up, freeze her up. Oh, the arrows are stuck. Oh, yes. Oh, man. You know, it feels so good to be, like, playing with stuff other than the infantry bow. Though it also might just be me, but I feel like the infantry bow was nerfed at some point, and it's not quite as strong as it used to be. But I could also just be imagining things. I would not rule that possibility out. Let's also upgrade the heavy crossbow. I mean, how many items do we actually even have left to fully upgrade? A lot, but is sort of the answer here. A lot. And yet fewer than might have been before. I mean, on average, I think we, I don't even need to pick these up. Look at how much money we have. It's crazy, man. Yeah, on average, we're able to fully upgrade 2 to 4 items per run, so that's good. But anyway, that's it for this episode, so until the next time, as always, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to hit that like button and maybe leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking, and I will see all of you in the next video.